Hi everybody, my name is Carrie. Thank you so much for being here. This is my channel where I talk about all my creative explorations, mostly with knitting and quilting, which is what today's episode is going to be about. Thank you so much for joining me if you're new, and thank you again if you are returning. Today is Sunday, September 9th, 2018. I don't ever record on a Sunday, but we were gone on vacation. If any of you have been following, you know that I was in Alaska. Jim and I went for our anniversary. It's our 35th anniversary, and that seems really weird to say that because then that really makes me feel old. But actually tomorrow's our anniversary, but we went in a celebration of our anniversary. So we just got back a few days ago, and so the last couple of days have been kind of busy, just getting groceries, and Millie was at my mom and dad's, and so picking her up and just all that kind of stuff. So I thought I better record, and I don't know if I'll get this up today because it's already kind of late in the afternoon. It's warm up here. It's not a super hot day, but it's warm up here, and so I have the fan going, so I'm sorry if you hear a little bit of white noise, but Jim's home because it's Sunday. He's downstairs watching his Minnesota Vikings football team play, and so I thought I'm going to record. So I have the door shut, and I have the fan in here, so that's just going to be the way it is because I'm warm. We had a fabulous time. I will talk about it a little bit at the end of the episode, along with some other changes that are going to be happening with me and stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of life stuff, you can wait until the end. Nothing major, just some stuff. So it's been a while. I don't remember. Well, you know what? I have it on my notes. When was the last time I recorded? A month ago. And so it's been a month. I got some stuff done before we left, and I was hoping to record right before we left, and I just didn't have the time to do it. Generally, when I record, I try and record in the morning, and it takes me all day by the time I've set things up to record and then edit it and upload it and all that stuff. It's pretty much an entire day, and I just didn't have that. So I am waiting until today, and I may get this uploaded tomorrow. So I did work on, I have talked about it before, it is a quilt that I'm making for my niece for her when she graduates. She is a junior in high school this year, so I have some time, but it's a pretty involved quilt, and so I know I need to give myself time to make it. So actually I'll get the picture of it so I can show you what it's going to look like when it's done. Okay, so this is the quilt I'm making, Fancy Forest by Elizabeth Hartman. I am making this size quilt that has all of these animals. This pattern comes with directions to make like a baby quilt or this size. So I'm making this size. And so I made the owl blocks. Aren't those cool? These were tedious. These had a lot of pieces. There is a lot of pieces just to make up the eyes. But I got through it. It took me several days of coming up here because it was still pretty warm. It gets pretty warm upstairs here, so I wouldn't work on it a ton. But I really like how they all turned out. And I don't necessarily have a favorite because as I completed them and got the different each one done, I was like, oh, I really like that one. And then I'd get the next color and think, oh, I really like that one. And so they aren't exactly to size like they should be. It was a tough one to piece and be super, super accurate with. I'm off like 1/8 of an inch or so. So I'm hoping when I go to put those together in the quilt that I can kind of fudge it. I try to be as accurate as I can. Obviously, I'm not perfect. That particular animal probably would have been good as a paper pieced animal, but I got it done, and her directions are fabulous, and it's just a matter of taking one little piece at a time, and some of the pieces were really tiny. So so I've gotten the, let's see, which ones can you see the best? I've gotten the bunnies. Oops, sorry. I've gotten the bunnies, I've gotten the foxes, and now the owl's done, and so next is the little hedgehog. So I think the hedgehogs will be pretty fun. And so I'm actually looking forward to doing that. So I'm getting moving along. It was nice to be able to take that stuff out and just have the time to just sit and work on it. And because I have to kind of spread it out. Whenever I work on anything, I swear, even when I go to knit night, I will just like, ooh, sort of like I take over the whole table if I have the room. So anyway, because that has a lot of pieces and you're doing a lot of different steps, it's a little more spread out. So it was good to take the time to do that. That's all the sewing stuff I did. And I was really trying to get that done before I left on vacation, so that when I come back, I can start the next animal. It was like to not leave that sort of halfway undone. I did finish some knitting stuff, and so I want to show that to you. I made a hat. I have a friend who is going through treatment for cancer, and I thought I want to make her a hat. She lives in Oregon, but she lives on the east side of Oregon where it gets really cold in the winter, and I didn't want her shiny little head to get cold. So I made her a hat. So this is the hat I made. This foam head is a little bit small, so it won't fit this loosely. It actually fits me really well, and I do know that I have a big head, but it fit on Jim okay too. So this pattern that I chose is the Odessa hat by Grumperina. Yeah, Grumperina. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. Here's the picture. She writes the pattern so that you can add beads, and so you would have beads inside this sort of ribbing type of thing, and I didn't want to do beads. And so what you do is you just knit the pattern and pretend like you're not doing beads. Super easy pattern to make. It's made with DK weight yarn, and so it knits up pretty quickly. This was what I took and knitted on, like when I was on the plane. If I had time to knit, I didn't have a ton of time to knit, which is kind of, I thought I'd have a little bit more, but we would get back to our Airbnb or our motel or wherever we were staying pretty late, just because we'd been out doing whatever, and we were exhausted. We would eat whatever it was that we had to eat and pretty much just pass out. So I didn't even like knit in the evenings a whole heck of a lot. But I did finish this while I was there. This colorway is my jukebox colorway, and I love it. Actually, I really like the way the colors are. And so if she doesn't care for this color, if that doesn't happen to look good on her, I'm going to put in the card that she can request. She can request a color, and I'll knit her another one. I am going to try and knit. I'm going to do it. Another one in that pattern with my mandala yarn that I got. So this is that self-striping yarn by Lion Brand. You can see how the stripes go. So I can get 2 hats out of this cake, and they'll each look different just based on how the stripes match up. I used the mandala yarn when I did the previous 2 hats that I did, and I did the worm hat, which is another free pattern on Ravelry. But I think this makes a really nice hat. I really like it. I think I only went down, I knit it with size 6, and I only went down to a 5 for the little bit of ribbing, and I think I'll go with a 4 next time. I just don't know that it pulls it in quite enough, but I do like the fabric with the 6. So that is one of my finished objects, which I'm really happy about. Another thing I finished right before I left is I had made a mitt, and I remember talking about it a couple episodes ago that I was going to try and do the convertible type mitts, and then decided to just go ahead and make a mitt. So I kind of followed that pattern I was following. Does that make sense? Anyway, I was going along following a pattern and then decided to not follow the pattern and just sort of alter it. What's funny is same needles, same yarn, but my gauge was really different from one mitt to the next. So it's a little bit shorter by just a smidge, and I counted the rows, so I know all my rows are right, but my gauge was tighter. Don't remember which one I did first, but isn't that interesting how depending on what you're doing, your gauge is going to be different. So what I'm going to do with this is I bought some conductive thread, and I got this on Amazon, and it just is conductive thread. And it wasn't very much money, under $10. I honestly don't remember how much I paid. But you basically get a bobbin of thread. There's tape around it to hold it on. But it is thread with like metal in it or something that makes it conductive. So what I'm going to do is on the thumb, because that's generally how I would use my phone if I needed to use my phone, is I would swipe with my thumb and maybe like right here, just make a little patch, because then that's, you know, how you like, you know, whoops, when you like, you know, you open up your phone and whatnot, and to do that. So I'm going to take that thread and just sort of do like you would a duplicate stitch. Remember when duplicate stitch was really big? Like a long time ago, like in the 80s. But you basically kind of mimic the knit stitch, but I'm going to do it with this on the top. So I'll do that on my thumb and like where my finger is. So I can use these, so I can, you know, wear these when I go for my walks and stuff, and be able to answer my phone if I need to. I don't get very many phone calls, but inevitably my friend will text me when I'm out on a walk. And I at least need to text her back saying, I'll talk to you later, I'm on a walk. So anyway, I finished the mitts. I'm really happy with that. Another project I was working on last time when we talked was I was making the honey cowl. I don't have a copy of the pattern because I didn't really need it. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'll put the link in the description box below, as well as any of the other patterns or anything that I talk about. So I finished my honey cowl. I just forgot the name. It's been a while. I'm a little rusty. Okay, so this is yarn that I got and I won from last year around Rhinebeck time from Lorelei, and it is Primrose yarn. It is an MCN blend, and it's called Grumpy Jello is the colorway name. I can't really see her tag because it's full. It's small. I can't find my words today. So anyway, Grumpy Jello. So I made the cowl, and I just made it till I think it was like 6 inches. And what you do, you don't do any ribbing. You just do stockinette for like 3 rows so that it will roll. And so it just has a little bit of a rolled edge on both sides. And I wanted to take it on my trip. And so this is brief because this is warm, but it was a good enough depth for me, and so I just stopped when I did. And I did wear this. It was chilly. The first half of our trip was quite rainy, and when it rains, it's cold. So it was quite chilly, and I was able to use it a little bit. So great pattern, super easy, very vanilla, like, you know, really easy. And I think it showed off the yarn quite well. I do have quite a bit left over. I think this is like 64 yards, 63 grams, not yards, but grams, 63, 64, something like that. So I can make these together weighed 33 grams, I think. So I figure I can make a pair of mitts with this, maybe fingerless mitts. Maybe I'll go with the convertible mitts. I don't know, but I think that would be a good, good yarn to do that with. It will go with a lot of things. So that was good to get that done, and I did wear it, so that's always good. Something else I got. Okay, so that's all my finished stuff. I was really wanting to have this cranberry ghost. I called it Goss last time, but there's an E on the end, so I think it's Ghost by Baby Cocktails. And I thought, oh, this would be a perfect sweater thing to have when I'm in Alaska, and I just couldn't get it finished. I did get the front finished, and so so I have that done. So you can see up at the top there's some texturing with doing purl stitches. I customized it, which is another way of saying I didn't follow the directions exactly. So the way you're supposed to like add these triangles and all, I interpreted it differently than how she wrote it or whatever, but it worked. It's fine. Instead of trying to duplicate that on the back, I think I'm just going to go stockinette all the way to the top. I'm not going to put the patterning on the back side. So the front side's done. I will whip up the back side. It actually went pretty quickly because as I stated before, I started this on my knitting machine and I did from the ribbing to about where you increase. So I got quite a bit done on the knitting machine, which goes way fast. And then when it needed to start shaping, because you kind of make a, can't really tell because it's rolling because I have to block it yet. But you know, there's some shaping here. And so when I got to the point where you have to start doing that, I took it off the machine and continued on with hand knitting it. So I will do the same thing for the back. And so I should be able to get that done fairly quickly. Like I said, I customized it, which, you know, I think it's fine. I think with that, it's like if you took, and really pretty much with any sweater, if you just take the basic outline of it and you just, you know, throw in some lace or throw in some purl stitches to make a design, the basics are still there, and then you just kind of use it as a canvas to do whatever you want with it. So unfortunately I didn't get that done, but then I didn't really end up needing it a whole lot. I mean, I had my jacket and all that stuff, which worked out better because it's a down jacket and it stuffs down into a stuff bag. And we traveled, did the whole trip. We each just had a carry-on bag. So we traveled super light, and I don't know that I would have ended up bringing it anyway, just because I did not have any room. It was like there was no room. We had good practice when we did our PCT hike, and you have to live out of your backpack for 3 weeks. You know how to just take just what you need. And so that's what we did, which was great. So anyway, I didn't miss out on not having it because I don't know if I really would have worn it enough. I had started a pair of socks before I left, and I decided to not take them with me because they had some cabling and stuff, and I just thought if I'm going to have a chance to knit, I'm not going to knit on something that I have to really think about. So I bought and started, I thought I had this ready, sorry. It's the Galliano socks by Tracy. She's Tracy of the Grocery Girls, and she's got a couple of sock patterns now. This was her first one, and it's got this really nice cable design just down the front. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try that. I'm not usually one for doing patterned socks. I'm usually just like, let me just do vanilla, but for some reason I really, really liked that pattern. Probably because it's just a nice pattern. So I got started on it, and I got to the point, I'm trying to get this so that you can see it. I got to the point where I turned the heel, so we're that far, and there's the design, and it really opens up when you put it on your foot. I didn't want to use a yarn that had a lot of speckling or a lot of color changing, because usually with patterns like this, they look best with something that reads as a solid and something that's, you can see it better if it's a lighter color, because kind of like with quilting, you see the quilting stitches better on a more solid fabric and better on lighter fabric, because what you're, besides seeing the thread or the yarn or whatever, you're seeing the shadows cast by the design. And so if it's dark, there's no shadows, and so you have a harder time seeing it. Not to say you can't see it, it just doesn't show up as well. Well, I didn't have any light colored yarn that I wanted to use, and so I pulled this out. This is an old skein from back when I first started dyeing, and it was something that sat in my shop and didn't sell, and I kept it because, you know, it's what you do. It's an MCN, and I thought, you know, I'd like to have some cashmere socks. So I love the color. I think this is about as neutral as I get. but it'll go with a lot of things. And this cable design, it's really, really an easy pattern. There's only two, it's an 8-row repeat, and only 2 of the rows do you have to do something different. So it makes it, you know, like I don't have to look at the chart. I just have to pay attention to what row I'm on. I don't know what kind of heel this is that she's got. You do some slip stitches, and then it just makes this, I don't know if you can see, kind of an unusual heel, but I slipped it on and it fit really, really well. So I just followed what her instructions were, and it doesn't say the type of heel that she chose to do. It just is like start making your heel. So I do like this heel, and so when I am doing the same heel on my other pair of socks that I've got going. But these are pretty cool. She did a good job on writing the pattern, especially considering it's her first pattern. It's been really easy to follow, and yeah, it's good. So those are going to be good. I enjoy working on them. So that says something, because I don't usually enjoy working on pattern socks, and I'm enjoying working on those. And that's mostly what I was picking up to work on before I left. What I did bring, and I'm like super coordinated, and I'm not one of those that has to coordinate all my stuff. But I tell you what, this is my sock bag, knitting bag that I use for my socks almost all the time. It's one of my bags. I made it a little bit taller because I like to be able to fit my sock ruler in it if I need it. So this is my go-to bag for socks. I'm knitting on my sock blank, which kind of matches it. This is a sock blank I got last year before? Last year, I think, from Rosehaven Yarns. It's one of her blankety blanks. She still has them. She's in Canada. So Rosehaven Yarn Shop in Ontario, I believe, and I'll link that below. But she's got these great sock blanks. So not only do I have my bag that's got campers or trailers, my sock blank, but I even have a progress keeper that's a little sign that says camp. I don't know if that's showing up. So here it is. I'm at the point of turning the heel. It started off mostly just with the light blue, and so now I'm getting more color as it's going into the different trailers. Is this upside down? I go this way, so you can kind of see what's happening there. I don't know what I did. I have to pull back this heel because I was working on it last night, and I should be done making the turn, and I still have 2 stitches that are extra. So I missed a decrease or decrease somewhere. But I'm following the same slip stitch type of thing as the Galliano socks, although it doesn't look like that's as long. I may have to redo the heel. I was trying to watch TV, and clearly I didn't do something right. I picked these up because they're vanilla, and we started to watch the new series that's on Amazon, the Jack Bryan. It's not exactly my type of show because it's a lot of shooting, and I'm not generally into that kind of stuff, but oh shit, now I'm like all damn. Got myself all wrapped up. Oh brother. So anyway, I think I may need to redo the heel because something's not right. But I like the yarn, and I like working from that sock blank. It's adorable. She's got another one. I was just looking to see if she still had these, and she's got this design, but it's like dark purple, goes to like a teal background. Like, oh, that'd be pretty. But I really like it. I'll wear these a lot. So those are my sock whips. Let me put that away. And then I'm behind on my podcast watching because I didn't always have the best Wi-Fi or whatever where we were staying. And like I said, in the evenings we were pretty tired. So I didn't watch anything while I was gone. Well, you know, everybody's putting out podcast episodes, so you can start to get behind. But my buddy Chevy Rell's doing a knit along with the shawl in the light shawl. And I'll put a link to that below. And I saw Amber had done it. Amber of the Yarn Hoarder podcast and all that, and she did it, has some fringe on it, and I was like, oh, that's just really cute, and she really enjoyed making it. Chevy Rell's made one. She really likes it. Hers is beautiful, and I thought, oh, I might just have to do that. And so I don't know. I want to do it because I want the enjoyment of making it, and then I think, am I ever going to wear it? I rarely wear the shawls that I have now because it just doesn't get that cold here. But I like making them. So I thought, just in case I decide to do it, I'm still on the fence. You need 3 colors, and you kind of fade them in, and maybe I'll put a picture of it here. This is what I came up with so far. I was kind of playing around this morning, and I have these 2 skeins from Midnight Cravings. This skein was part of a campaign, the anti-bullying campaign that they did. And then this is a skein from Black Sheep Yarn Shop, which she now has her own website. This is her Pearls and Lace colorway. This is on a sparkle base, and the other 2 aren't, which isn't any big deal. So I thought that might go. I'm just not sure if this is too beige for these. This isn't like going, oh my gosh, that's so perfect. These 2 go together great. So I'm still kind of on the fence of what to do with my light color. And I'm on the fence of whether I'm making it or not, because I just don't know that I'm going to wear it. But I do like making stuff. That's hard. You know, that's really hard. I like to make stuff. I like to make stuff for people, and I like to just make stuff all the time. But, I mean, like, sometimes it has to have a purpose, or you're just making stuff. I don't know. So that's all of my whips and FOs. I am gonna rip something. Pretty sure. I talked about it before. It's been in timeout for a little while. It is the sweater that I'm making, the Alicia Plummer pattern, Staring at Stars. I can't ever get the name right either. Making it out of my Fire in the Sky colorway. And I had talked about the sleeves feeling a little tight, and I really think the whole sweater is just not fitting me right. So I'm going to rip it out. And I've been watching Allison from For Knit Sakes, and she knit a colorwork sweater that I thought was really pretty, and it was pretty. It just she didn't feel like it fit her right, and so she made the whole entire sweater and ripped it out. And I thought, you know what? That's just what you got to do, because if I make this and finish it and it doesn't fit, I'm not going to wear it anyway, so I might as well find another pattern for that yarn and make something that I know I will wear. So that's going to be ripped. That's a lot of work, but it's going to be ripped. Yeah, it is. It just is, because it's been sitting in timeout for a long time, and I still don't care for the way it fits. The fit's not changing because it's sitting in the bag. Somehow that's not fixing itself. So I'm going to take it out. Also, what I'm going to take out, and I don't even know where it is. I didn't grab it. The sweater that I was making on my knitting machine, and it's the purple striped one. I've shown it in previous episodes. Something's just not right with it, and I'm going to rip that one out as well. But that one I've already done like a button band I have to take off, and I've seamed it, and that's going to be a little bit more extensive of a rip, but I think that one would be better as just a pullover or something. I don't think that making the cardigan on my knitting machine was right for me. And so I got to rip that out. I think it's over by the knitting machine, actually, now that I think about it. So I've got 2 sweaters to rip out, and then I'll have lots of yarn to make something with. So sad. Oh, I've got the giveaway. You guys, I did a giveaway. Last episode, I told you that I have these 9-inch circular ChowGoo needles in a size 3, US size 3, that I got to try, and I don't care for them, and so I put them up as a giveaway. And the prompt was to say how you keep cool during the hot weather, because a month ago it was like 100 degrees here. And the winner of the needles was number 8, the Knitted Lamb, who was Michelle in Missouri. Congratulations, Michelle. Get in contact with me. You can do that through Rav or Instagram or however you want to get in contact with me, to give me your address, and I will get these mailed out to you. And thank you to everybody who entered. And I hope, Michelle, I hope if you haven't ever tried these, I hope you try them and you like them. If not, then, you know, pay it forward or something. When we were in Alaska, I went to try to find some yarn shops. One thing that's interesting that what we didn't expect out of Anchorage is how much the area relies on tourism, and primarily the cruise ships. So 10 years ago, we took a cruise to Alaska, and we went on the Inside Passage, which took you to Juneau and all that kind of stuff, and we didn't go up into Anchorage. And I just thought that's kind of like what you did. I didn't realize that they went all the way up to Anchorage, and they dock, and then you're on land for like 5 to 7 days, depending on your cruise line. So you've got people that came in on a boat, and they take the train or rent cars or whatever and go do different things. So when we went into Denali, there's actually lodges for the cruise lines, like Princess Cruise Line Lodge. And so that was just, that just kind of surprised us. So being that they rely so heavily on tourism pretty much stops mid-September, which is one reason why we wanted to go a little bit before our anniversary. So a lot of the shops will close, excursions will stop going, you know, pretty soon they're going to get snow, and, you know, it just isn't the season for it. So looking for yarn shops, there's not that many around, and what I did find, they carried like Cascade or Rowan, or, you know, those more commercially made yarns that I can get here, and I wanted to get something that was from an indie dyer up there. And then I was thinking, you know, I wonder, that's got to be kind of hard, because I know that shipping anything to Alaska gets expensive, because everything's got to either come by boat or plane. There's not ground service. You don't just have UPS driving it to you. We did see a few UPS trucks and FedEx, but they're not around like you see here. And so I did manage to find a shop in downtown Anchorage right before we left, and she says they'll close up like September 20 something. They have the schedule for the ships, and when the last ship is out, they like close it up because there's just not enough business. But I did find from the Woolly Mammoth, really nice shop. They have a yarn, a fiber that they get from yak, and it's called Kinnet or something like that. It begins with a Q. I'll have to look it up. And it's made from muskox. And so they don't shear the muskox, they don't comb them or anything, but muskox have this downy like layer that's kind of on the top, and that sheds off. And so when that sheds off, they get that and, you know, process it, clean it, comb it, whatever, spin it into yarn. And she said it's 8 times warmer than merino wool, which I found fascinating. And it's super light. Like they have it locked behind a glass case because this stuff's like gold. A tiny little skein, I swear it was maybe 25 grams, maybe, was like $125. So I didn't buy any. I didn't get that souvenir. But she let me, you know, she told me about it and let us touch it. There was a scarf that was in the case, and I held, and it's like you're not holding anything. It is so light, but it is extremely warm. So you can see why they use it as insulation and whatnot. But I think just because there's not a lot of it on the animals, because it's just a shed thing and it's harder to get, it's like super expensive. So I didn't buy that. But I thought, okay, well, this shop had a couple indie dyers in it. So I bought a sock yarn. It's Northern Bee Studio. And this is the ball flower colorway. and it just, I don't know, it just spoke to me. I kept picking it up and putting it down and picking it up and putting it down. I thought, okay, this is the one I'm going to buy. And it was actually the same price as what you'd buy yarn for here, which surprised me because I thought, you know, to get yarn up there has got to be expensive, and you've got to incorporate that into your cost, and to get dyes and all that kind of stuff. So for it to be still the same price as what you'd buy here, that was pretty nice. And so I don't know, this could be real pretty in a shawl or cowl. It might just be socks. I'm not sure. I even thought with these two colors from Midnight Cravings, I could put this color with it, but it almost seems too similar to this. It's just dyed differently, but it's like similar colors. I don't think it's different enough. So that was my souvenir. And I did buy a pin, Moose Crossing pin. And the reason why I got this is because, this is going to go on my project bag, is because we saw these signs everywhere. It's like, warning, moose crossing for the next 3 miles. And you go about 3 miles and there's another one. Warning, moose crossing for the next 2 miles. All over the place. And we never saw moose on the road. So I think it's bullshit. It's a myth. I think they lie. I think it's a tourist thing. But anyway, so it was just this joke. It's like, yeah, right. And so yeah, we never saw moose on any of the roads. And we rented a car, and I think we put on like 1,500 miles or something like that in the time we were there, because you'd go to the next town. Well, the next town's not like just right there. You've got to go, you know, a couple hours away. And so that was kind of my joke, my Alaska joke from us. It's kind of one of those inside jokes. So that's all I have for you crafting wise and yarny, fabricy, and all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in kind of hearing more about my trip or what's going on, please stay tuned. If not, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in a couple of weeks when I record again. So if you're staying around, thank you. We had a really nice time. It was really a kind of a bummer that the first half of the trip was rainy. We have rain gear and all that, but it's dreary, and you can't see things. And when the sun's shining on landscapes, the colors are just more vibrant. When it's raining, everything's kind of grayed out. So it was disappointing, but we did what we did. We did take a tour into Denali National Park, and the only way you can get in there, you can get in like 12 miles or something by car, which doesn't really take you in very far, and that's as far as you can go. The only way you can get into the park is by train or by a bus, by a tour bus. Nobody can drive in there unless you get like this special permits for things. And that's to keep things as natural as possible. You don't get off the bus unless you're in like a little rest area thing where they have bathrooms, and you're like, you get off, you potty, and you get back on. Because they don't want the animals to associate the buses with people and food and that kind of thing. So we took a bus tour that took you as far back in as you can go by road, which is 92 miles back. And it was pretty rainy the whole way in. So we didn't see a whole lot to see the mountain Denali. So you only have about a 30% chance of actually seeing it and seeing it clear, because it's usually in some sort of clouds. So we got back, we did that and got to the back, and there's a lodge there that they served us lunch and blah, blah, blah. And then things started to clear up. So on the way back, we saw all kinds of animals. So we saw a grizzly bear, saw a mama bear with her cub, saw a couple of males, which are humongous, caribou. We saw wolves. We saw a couple of mama wolves, and they each had 2 pups. So that was pretty cool. What else did we see? Arctic, what do they call them? Arctic ground squirrels, which are, they just sort of pop up out of the holes like whack-a-mole. Oh gosh, I know I'm missing something. Doll sheep, which are like kind of like bighorn sheep. It's just it's Alaska's version of it. And so a bunch of those up on the mountain, and so that was really neat. And it was really neat to see that. I did get some pictures, but some of them, they're far enough away that the animals are too far away. You can't really see them. Did finally see some moose. So that was exciting. It was male, so they have the big horns, and saw a couple of those. And so then, and that was my big thing. Like, I've been wanting to see a moose in real life for a really long time because I've been to areas that supposedly have moose, and we never see them. So that was really exciting, but I was like, I still want to see a moose just when we're out driving around. Like, to me, that was kind of like seeing a moose in the zoo, even though Denali National Park is like 6 million acres. It's not like a zoo at all. It's completely wild, but I don't know. It just didn't feel the same. So we were constantly on the lookout for those silly moose. And then we went into a town called Seward. And while we were there, we took a boat tour that takes you out into Resurrection Bay. And there weren't any whales at the time. Wasn't the right time of year for that, but we saw a bunch of puffins, which were pretty cool. They're a lot larger than I thought they were. It almost looked like a penguin. Saw some sea lions, and just being out in the water and just seeing the glaciers and, that kind of stuff was pretty nice. And it was like, okay, that was okay. That was kind of fun, whatever. It was just a thing. When we did the Denali trip that we did, that was 14 hours because it doesn't go very fast. And then you get back to the lodge and you have lunch, and it takes you all the time to get back. And if you see an animal, you stop, and she, waits so that everybody can get pictures and all that kind of stuff. We were so tired when we were done with that trip. That was a day we just passed out. But anyway, it was still a good day. So we did the boat trip, and then we left Seward, and we thought, we read about this town called Whittier. It's on the Prince William Sound. And the only way you can get to the town is to go through a tunnel. And the tunnel that they built back in the 40s is just a 1-lane tunnel, and it's used by traffic that goes both ways. And it's also used by the train. So what they do is on the hour, you can go from Whittier out, and on the half hour, you can go from out into Whittier, and then the train just goes when it needs to go, and they move things around. I don't know how they do that. So we get there, and you wait in line, you park your car, and you just wait till it's the time. And then, you have to pay to go through, pay like a toll, and they give you a little brochure. So as you're sitting there, and I'm driving, so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be fun, I know it's a long tunnel, blah, blah, blah. When you start reading about it, it's 2.5 miles long. Now that's a long tunnel into a mountain. And then it says, if the strobe lights come on, stop your car, turn it off, leave the keys in your car, and get to the safe house as quickly as you can. And it's like, holy shit. Okay. So about every 1/4 mile, they have what they called safe houses, and it was just these 2 metal doors. And so I'm sure they open, and it goes into something safe. And in case of an earthquake or an avalanche or whatever the thing may be. And so I'm sitting there thinking about it going, I'm going to be inside this mountain for a while, and I can't really get out. So then I almost started to get really anxious about it. Don't think about it. You're just going to do this. People do this every day. It's no big deal. And so in you go, and you just sort of go into this hole in the mountain, and you ride on the train tracks. It's, cemented. And it took us, you can only go about 25 miles an hour through it. And it took us about 7 minutes to get through. So, think about that next time you go through a tunnel or something. 7 minutes is a long time. It is gorgeous in Whittier because you're on the Prince William Sound. There's tons of glaciers that are really, really close. And when we saw that, we thought, that's where we should have taken our boat tour, is to get on that, because you could get really close to the glaciers and stuff. So unfortunately, we learned that after the fact. We're budget travelers, so we couldn't do 2 boat trips because they're, nothing's cheap in Alaska. And so, but we walked around. It's a fishing town. You could tell it's more of a working fishing town, and they're, starting to pull boats out of the water because the season's pretty much over, but it was really pretty. And then you got to get in line to go back out because that's the only way in and out. And so if you missed your time, it's an hour before you can go through it again. So, we're having to kind of watch the time and stuff. And then if a train does go through, they say they have these big turbine fans that blow the exhaust out of the tunnel before they let the cars go through. It's just very clever, very unique. So that was just kind of a fun day to go do that. And then where did we end up? I don't know, I think we ended up back in Anchorage at some point. And not a lot to do in Anchorage. It is a city. It's a small city, but it is a city. There just wasn't really a lot to do. One thing that they have, which is fantastic, is a trail system that goes along the coastline in Anchorage, and it's like 11 miles. I think it was 11 miles one way. And it's a cemented, a concreted, whatever, paved trail that follows along the coastline. So we rented bikes and we took the trail, and they're like, okay, be careful because you can see moose. You don't know how many times people told us we're going to see moose. We didn't see moose. Supposedly you can also see black bear on the trail, which I wasn't too excited about running into. So we didn't see anything. The guy where we rented the bikes, he's like, take the trail, and then you do this other trip where you can go around this lake that is like the biggest water plane airport kind of a thing. And so we had this like janky kind of map, and we're riding along, and some hills, like you'd start flying down these hills and then you got to go up the other side, and I'm like, I can't do it. So I have to walk up to the top, hoping a bear doesn't come out of the woods at that point. And then we're like in town on the roads and stuff. We're like, I don't think this is right. We just need to get back to return these bikes, because by this point our butts are getting sore. We're getting tired. It's like, we're running out of water, all that kind of stuff. We ended up making it back. Never saw any moose or anything like that. So that was pretty much that day. And then, so the night before we left, there's a park called Earthquake Park. It's right next to the airport. It's known for having moose in there. We rode our bikes through it. Didn't see any, but we thought, let's go like at dusk. If they're anything like deer, and we have a lot of deer and elk here, and we see there's a lot of signs here that say deer crossing, elk crossing, and you rarely see them. So it's the same kind of thing up there. It's just that they have moose. Supposedly there's deer and elk up there, but we didn't see any signs saying watch out for them, and we never saw any. So we drove over to Earthquake Park, and sure enough, there was a mama moose and her baby. And so we just sat in the car because, you don't mess with Mother Nature, and you don't get involved with the wildlife, but we wanted to take pictures, and we just watched her, and they just moved along. And so I felt like, okay, now I can feel like I can check that off my list. I saw moose in the wild on my own, and I could sit here as long as I wanted to. And so that was pretty cool. And then we left and we came home. So, it took us a couple days to sort of recuperate, but we did it. We did good. So I feel now I've seen Alaska. I know it's just a tiny little part. The state's really huge, but I know that I would do things a little bit different next time. I would like maybe land in Anchorage, go see Denali National Park, and then continue driving and go to Fairbanks. But maybe there'll be another time. Probably not. I'll go somewhere different next vacation, but it was good. We had a good time. And that's what matters. So another thing that's going to be a little bit different in my life is I got a job. I am going to start working tomorrow, Monday, the 10th. I got a job working at my local high school. I will be a lunch lady. I've been looking for a little while for something part-time, and I'm just really not qualified to do anything because any of the jobs I've had in the past were kind of pre-electronic. Now everything, like you have to be a master at like Microsoft Suite and I don't know, all these kinds of things that it's like, you know what? That's not my thing. So because I'm not good at any of that kind of stuff, those jobs are like, take that off. So I really wanted to try and find something close by. This came up right before I went on vacation, and I interviewed for it, and they were nice enough to be willing to hold it for me until I got back from vacation. And so I start tomorrow. I'm excited and I'm a bit nervous. I've never done any kind of food service, not even when I was younger. I've never worked in a restaurant. I've never done fast food. I've never done any of that kind of stuff. So it's going to be different. I know it's going to be hard work, and that's okay. I'm good with that, but it's like a half a day, and it's just like a mile away from me. So that's really good. So with that, I'm right now not going to be dyeing any more yarn. My shop is still open. There's quite a bit of yarn still in there, and I will leave it open at least till the end of the year. That's where I'm feeling right now. And then after that, I'll probably close it and I'll just absorb that yarn or whatever. I'll figure it out. But at this point, I'm not going to be dyeing any new stuff. I had been thinking about that actually for quite a while before I got the job, and now that I've got the job, I just kind of feel like now's the time, for lots of different reasons that I won't go into, that it's time for me to step away from that. So like I said, my shop is back open. I had it closed when I was on vacation, but it's open. I'm still planning on podcasting. The timing, it might be a little bit weird because usually I podcast in the morning and then take the rest of the day to edit and upload. And I'm not going to have that, and I won't be able to do it till I get home. Or I may have to do it on the weekend, which I don't like to do because Jim's home. It just messes with my flow. So I still plan on doing that, but I feel like now I can have time to work on the things I want to work on and not be feeling guilty that I'm not dyeing because I decide that today I want to sew or whatever. So, yeah, so I will let you know how that all goes. Fingers crossed it goes well. I haven't worked outside the home for 11 years, 12 years, something like that. I've worked for myself for quite a number of years. I am looking forward to working with other people. It can be kind of solitary. If you're a long arm quilter, it's you. And you meet with your customers every once in a while, and it's just you. When you're a dyer, it's just you. And I won't do shows and stuff. So anyway, I'm looking forward to having that enrich my life a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. I hope my body can do it. I'm going to fake it till I make it, and it'll be fine. So anyway, that's the change that's happening around here. So I need to go get some lunch, and then I need to go to Walmart to see if I can buy some cheap t-shirts so that I can wear those to work. Because I imagine things will get kind of stained and yucky. Yeah, and then I'll get this uploaded. It may not be uploaded until Monday the 10th, so you may not see this until then, but we'll see how it goes. So thank you for joining me and sticking around till the end if you did, and I will plan on recording in a couple of weeks, and fingers crossed everything goes well. So I hope everything's good with you guys, and I will see you next time.